Hey, Algebra 1. Today we're going to do a little homework problem that I saw a lot of people made a mistake on, or a lot of people didn't understand what to do, and I'm happy to go over that. And then we're going to start on 8.6. So let me just talk about this homework problem. It was number 18 on your homework. Some people just left it basically, they said, oh, the problem should have been plus 60. Some people assumed it was plus 60. I'm going to tell you, you can do this problem. All right. So, um, my first step is to identify what B and C is. So B is negative 17 and C is negative 60. Okay? Then my second part of the step is to find what multiplies to negative 60 that adds to negative 17. Now, what I saw in a lot of you guys, which would be good if it was positive 60, is that you guys chose 12 and 5. Let's say negative 12 and 5. Now, when you add that together, that does not give you negative 17. That gives you negative 7. So negative 12 and 5, or the reverse, 12 and negative 5, which gives you positive 7, are not my answers. And a lot of you guys put that down. Now, you either made a mistake because you realize maybe you put 12 and 5. That does add up to 17. But the issue is times positive 12 times positive 5 gives you a positive 60. So this one's not it because it adds up to negative 7. This one's not it because it adds up to positive 7. This one's not it because it doesn't multiply to negative 60. And maybe you're saying, well, Mr. Tobel, what about negative 12 and negative 5? Well, that adds up to negative 17, but doesn't multiply to negative 60. Negative 12 times negative 5 would be a positive 60, so that one doesn't count either. So it is not 12 and 5. You can't use that mix up of numbers 12 and 5. So when you're multiplying to a negative number, you kind of have to change your thinking. You're adding one positive and one negative. When you add a positive and negative together, it's kind of like subtracting. So try to think of it when you multiply to a negative, when your C is negative, what subtracts to negative 17? All right, well, 12 and 5 doesn't work. So let's see, 6 and 10. 6 and 10, 10 minus 6 is 4. That doesn't work. Let's go the other way. 4 and, does 4 go in there? 4 and 15. 15 minus 4, that gives you 11. That doesn't work. Let's go down a little lower. 3 and 20. 3 and 20. Well, let's make negative 3 and 20. Well, negative 3 and 20 is positive 17. Wait a second, we're getting closer. Negative 3 and 20 is positive 17. So then, what if I flip the sign? 3 and negative 20. So 3 and negative 20 equals negative 17. So this right here is the numbers you want to choose, 3 and negative 20. I saw you, a lot of guys pick 12 and 5, even though it doesn't add up to negative 7. I saw a couple people put negative 12 and negative 5, but that doesn't multiply to negative 60. You have to satisfy both at the same time, not one, not the other. So the only one that works is 3 and negative 20. So x plus 3 and x minus 20. I'm going to repoint this as part of the homework. Or no, I'm going to make a new one. So I want to make sure you understand the part of when you have two negative situation going on. Okay, now let's get to our actual lesson 8.6. All right, now we're going to use 8.6, factor ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, this should look familiar, but you might notice something really off. I'll give you 3 seconds to realize what's interesting about this question compared to the questions we did for homework at 8.5. Okay, so what's really off is that we have a number in front of the x squared. We have a number in front of the x squared. All the other times we never had a number in front of the x squared. So now our steps are going to change slightly. The bulk of it, or the center of it, is going to be the same. There's going to be a different first step and there's going to be a different end step, but most of it's going to be the same. So let's talk about the first step. The first step is to take A and multiply it with C. This is called a slide, and this whole method is called slide and divide. Okay? So this first part is the slide. So the slide, the 2 to the 6, when you use an arrow, we're going to multiply it. So the first step is to make it x squared plus 7x plus 2 times 6. Or I think in the instructions I wrote a times c. So a times c, which is 12. This is your new c. I'll use capital C for it. Now let's identify what b is and identify what c is. And actually, let's identify what a is too. So maybe I should have done that first. A is 2, B is 7, lowercase c is going to be 6, and I'm going to make it an uppercase c equals 12. All right? So now I want to figure out what goes. Now look at this problem right here. This right here under here. This is like your old problems you got on your last homework. X squared plus 7x plus 12. So this is going to be exactly the same steps as you did before. And then at the end, we're going to do that divide part. But let's not worry about that till the end. Okay, so I want to multiply to what my big C now is. So what multiplies to 12, that adds to 7. Let me start listing things. 1 and 12 adds to 13, no. 2 and 6 adds to 8, no. 3 and 4, wait a second, that adds to 7. So my two factors are 3 and 4. So now I'm going to rewrite it as x plus 3, x plus 4. So typically in a normal question, we are done. But we forgot the divide part. So this is where the divide part comes in. We're going to divide both 3 and 4, both factors, by our original a. And our original a is 2. So I'm going to divide both 3 and 4 by 2. Now I'm going to simplify if possible. X plus 3 over 2 can't simplify, so I'm going to leave it as 3 over 2. And then the other one, x plus 4 divided by 2, does simplify. That reduces down to 2. Now the problem is I do not like fractions in my answers, so this is what I'm going to do to fix that. I'm going to take this 2, which is the denominator left over, and move it over here. I'm going to take this 2 and move it over here. So this becomes 2x plus 3. I moved the denominator and moved it in front of the x. So 2x plus 3. This one had no denominator, so we're happy with that. We're okay. X plus 2. So your answer is going to be 2x plus 3, x plus 2. I'm more than happy to do another example of this. All right. So here's our next problem. A little harder. Hard enough that not most people got this on the homework. So I'm going to redo it now in this version. And you'll see how this is a little different or a little bit of the same. Okay. So let me first identify A, B, C. I should have done that first in the last problem, and I'll do it first in this problem. A in this case is 6. B in this case is negative 17. C in this case is negative 10. Now I want to figure out what my capital C is. So I'm going to take my 6 and slide it to negative 10. That becomes x squared minus 17x minus 60. All right. So now we got to figure out products that multiply to negative 60. Oh, and my capital C is negative 60. So things that multiply to negative 60 that add up to negative 17. So let's see. Well, 12 and 5, negative 12 and 5. that adds up to only -7. So that one's not right. I'm not going to go through the rigmarole because we already did this one, actually. So then let's just go to the final part. You'll just keep trying, and sometimes it'll take you a while, and that's okay. That's okay. You'll get better as you practice, but it'll take you a while sometimes to figure out what the numbers are. I'm going to say this. I guarantee there's a pair of numbers that always works. When I give you these type of problems, I guarantee there's a pair of numbers that always works. Okay? Especially in this section. It has to work. So let's try another one. It should be negative, since we're -17, so -20 and 3. -20 and 3 becomes -17. So this is my goal. So I'm going to rewrite this as x minus 20. And it's minus 20 because it's negative. X plus 3. Okay? So we did our slide. Now to do the divide part. The divide part is dividing by 6 on both of them. So the first one, x minus, I'm going to take out, looks like I could take out a 2 out of everything here. So I think I'm going to take out a 2. So that's 10 over 3. And this one's also divided by 6. So x plus, I could take out a 3 out of both of them. 1 over 2. Now, like I said, I do not like fractions, and you cannot leave it as a fraction. If you technically leave it as a fraction, you're going to get the wrong answer. Because it's not technically true, so when you FOIL out, you don't get the same answer. So, I take my little 3 and move it here. I take my little base 2 and move it here. So my final answer, and I guess you could call this a reslide, so you slide back. So 3x minus 10, 2x plus 1. So I guess technically maybe the best name for it would be slide, divide, slide again. Because you have to slide any denominators to the front. And with this method, you'll end up almost always... No, you end up always having a... no, I can make one that doesn't have a fraction. 99% of the time, you will have a fraction. So 99% of the time, you will have a fraction. So 3 is going to move here. 2 is going to move here. So you have 3x minus 10, 2x plus 1. That right here is your final answer. I can see this lesson being a little difficult, especially checking out the old homework. So I'm going to hold a Zoom session. We'll be on your class period time, and I'll post that when it's relevant. I believe it's around 4:30 is your class period time. That won't be mandatory. That's just for asking questions, okay? And I want to make sure you know it so we can keep moving on with this stuff. All right. Along with this, I'm posting the homework. Should be some worksheet. I'm going to be from the textbook along with the answers. Again, I would suggest you check the answers when you check in your homework. Again, I'm not checking if they're right. I'm checking if you completed it. So I want you to check your answers to make sure you did it. And you could see like, oh, it's actually these numbers. If you have a situation where you're like, I have no clue how to do this one, leave me a private comment so I can help you out. Some of you guys left it on the paper, which is nice, but I need you to also just send me a comment because I only get notifications when you type a comment out for me. Okay? Yeah, so Zoom session, homework, all that. All right, have a wonderful day.